Chapter 7, the section on non-attainment and non-teaching. Subhuti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? Has the Tathagata expounded any Dharma? Subhuti replied, according to my understanding of the Buddha's teachings, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is not something fixed that can be attained, and likewise, what the Tathagata expounds is not something fixed. Why? Because the Dharma taught by the Tathagata cannot be grasped or expressed in words. It is neither Dharma nor non-Dharma. This is because all sages and enlightened beings make distinctions through the Dharma of non-action, non-attainment, and non-teaching. Non-attainment means there is nothing to be gained, for the Buddha's teachings focus entirely on letting go. The strongest clinging to self leads to greed, anger, and delusion, which must all be relinquished for true liberation. Buddhism does not advocate seeking wealth, fame, or status, but rather it teaches the method of renunciation. However, because even renunciation is not absolute, it is referred to as non-teaching. The Buddha asked Subhuti, has the Tathagata attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? The Tathagata is one who has thus come, and thus gone, a being who understands all things before arriving, and knows all things upon departing. The Buddha knew from the beginning where he would be born, the path he would take to enlightenment, and even the time of his passing. In contrast, sentient beings driven by karma wander through samsara unaware of where they came from or where they are going. Because they cling to the self, the moment they face the problem of death, their very foundation is shaken. Supreme perfect enlightenment refers to the realization of no self and emptiness. When the Buddha asked whether the Tathagata had attained the truth, he was inquiring about the nature of Dharma as emptiness. The Buddha then asked, has the Tathagata taught any Dharma? Here, Dharma refers to ultimate truth. The question implies, is there an absolute fixed reality that the Tathagata has spoken of? As explained in the chapter on the essence of the Mahayana, the 5 aggregates that sentient beings mistake for the self are merely conditions arising temporarily and will eventually cease. Our bodies, perceptions, thoughts, and even consciousness itself are all transient, lacking any intrinsic nature. If all things are conditioned and empty, then even the Buddha's teachings cannot be considered absolute truth. The paradox of the Buddha's words. The essence of the Buddha's teaching is no self and emptiness. If the Buddha's words were regarded as eternal and unchanging, it would contradict this fundamental truth. Thus, even his teachings are not an ultimate reality. Yet because sentient beings are afflicted by delusion, they require prescriptive teachings, a remedy for suffering. However, once suffering ceases, Dharma itself is no longer necessary. Sages and enlightened beings have transcended both inner and outer desires, eradicating mental afflictions. In this state, the mind ceases to discriminate, and all things become one. This unity is referred to as the unconditioned emptiness or non-duality. It is beyond conceptual thought or verbal description. A thought experiment, where has night gone? Let me ask you this, is it daytime or nighttime? It is night, you might say, for the sky outside is dark. But where did the day go? Consider this carefully. If you say that when day arrives, night disappears, then where has night gone? During ancient debates between Buddhists and Brahmins, Brahmins argued that darkness hides when light appears. But what does it mean for darkness to hide? If it were something substantial, would it not be possible to sweep away the darkness in a cave with a broom? Day and night are not two separate things. Because all things are empty of intrinsic existence, there is nothing that truly ceases to exist. When ignorance is dispelled, wisdom arises. When a dark room is illuminated, darkness disappears instantly. This is the direct realization of emptiness. However, even darkness and light are merely conceptual constructs, not ultimate realities. The nature of awakening. There is no fixed entity called awakening that the Buddha has attained. To say that the Tathagata has attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is an incorrect statement, for all things are empty of intrinsic existence. Just as sentient beings are not inherently real, neither is enlightenment. The state beyond all conceptual distinctions where both darkness and light disappears is emptiness, the middle way, and non-action. The Buddha's teachings are divided into provisional teachings, teachings that use conventional distinctions, such as good and evil, day and night. Definitive teachings, direct teachings on emptiness, non-duality, and the absence of distinctions. In the Heart Sutra, it is said, there is no ignorance and no end of ignorance, no wisdom and no attainment. This is the definitive truth. In the ultimate state, there is nothing to rely on. Because sentient beings are lost in darkness, they seek something to hold on to. Wealth, relationships, social status, religious deities. Even in spiritual practice, they cling to Buddha, gods, and the fear of death. But sensory pleasures inevitably lead to suffering. According to the law of cause and effect, however, by upholding precepts, practicing the 6 paramitas, and diligently cultivating the path, ignorance dissipates and wisdom arises. Yet, as explained earlier, this is merely a conventional way of speaking. The state beyond both darkness and light, where even these distinctions disappear, is where all moments become one. Those who have realized non-action are called saints. In this state, there is no separation between sentient beings and Buddhas. The Vimalakirti Sutra states, "When sentient beings suffer, I suffer." This signifies the unity of self and others. Any religion that fails to resolve the fundamental problem of death loses its purpose. No other religion addresses this issue as clearly as Buddhism. Through Samatha and Vipassana, one directly experiences the selfless and empty nature of existence. At that point, even in the face of death, one transcends birth and death. Thus, there is no distinction between life and death.